Learning about the present perfect might seem daunting, but even if you've never heard of pretérito perfecto, we're here today to explain how to use the present perfect in Spanish. ¡Vámonos! In this lesson, we are going to learn all about the present perfect tense in Español. It's an essential concept to know because it allows you to make links between the present and the past, talking about what has happened or continues to happen. To learn present perfect, we have to answer 3 key questions. 1, what is present perfect? 2, how do you conjugate it? And 3, when can you use present perfect? Then we'll take a look at some commonly used examples. Don't tense up. By the end of this video, we guarantee you'll feel a lot more present. And if you haven't seen our video introducing the 5 types of past tense, of which present perfect is one, it might be worth giving that a watch as it ties in nicely with this lesson. Well, let's begin. Number 1, what is present perfect? Present perfect is used to talk about past actions that are still connected to the present or are probably still happening. For example, he ido a España muchas veces. I have gone to Spain many times. It's the same as its English counterpart in that this tense describes an action that has started in the past but hasn't finished. With this tense, there is a simple formula. We conjugate the auxiliary verb, haber, in simple present plus the past participle of the action verb. For example, yo he comido. I have eaten. Here, the auxiliary verb yo is added to the past participle comido. Here's a quick tip. You can use the present perfect as a hack to speak about the past in Spanish before learning correct past tense grammar. It won't always be technically correct, but people will understand you and it can come in super handy if you're stuck. Remember, if you want to learn how to speak Spanish, make sure to check out baselang.com, where you can get access to unlimited one-on-one Spanish classes with native speaking teachers, all via Zoom. Number 2, how do you conjugate it? Present perfect always uses haber, to have, in the sentence. So, to use this tense correctly, you need to learn the correct conjugation for the auxiliary verb haber, and then add the past participle of the main verb, and bingo, you'll be speaking in present perfect tense. The conjugations for the auxiliary verb haber depends on the personal pronoun used as follows. Yo uses tú goes with as. Él, ella, and usted all use a, and nosotros conjugates with hemos. Then you have vosotros, which goes with habéis, and ustedes or ellos, ellas goes with han. Once you know these conjugations, all you need to do is add the past participle of the main verb, and there you go. Before we look at how to add the past participle, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you'll be able to watch more videos just like this one in the future. Great. Now let's find out how to add the past participle. When we add the past participle, all regular verbs follow a structure that takes the root of the verb and changes the ending, depending on whether the verb ends in AR, ER, or IR. Let's start with AR verbs. For this, you take the regular verb ending in AR and add the ending ado to the verb's root. For example, the verb comprar, to buy, will become comprado. But nosotros hemos comprado un auto nuevo. We have bought a new car. Now, let's look at ER and IR verbs. Regular verbs ending in both ER and IR both have the same ending, ido, to the verb's root. So, the verb comer, to eat, will become comido, eaten. And the verb dormir, to sleep, will become dormido, slept. For example, él ha comido mucho hoy. He has eaten a lot today. There are also irregular verbs we need to deal with, but we'll come to those later. Number 3, when can you use the present perfect? Firstly, you would use present perfect to describe actions that are still happening, such as he vivido en París desde que era un niño. I have lived in Paris since I was a child. And secondly, to describe something that just happened, such as, he visto un fantasma. I have seen a ghost. It's important to know that the present perfect tense is more commonly used in Spanish to describe actions that occurred in a recent past, such as today, this morning, or this afternoon. Even if you don't mention the time frame, present perfect tells us that the action took place not too long ago. For other time frames, such as yesterday or last week, Spanish speakers would usually use instead the simple past tense. So, what is the difference between present perfect versus simple past? Simply put, the present perfect tells us an action that took place more recently than the simple past, which would be for actions further in the past. For example, he visto a mi profesor de español esta mañana. I've seen my Spanish teacher this morning. Now, that would be present perfect because this morning is fairly recent, while ayer vi a mi profesor de español, I saw my Spanish teacher yesterday, would be simple past because it happened yesterday, which is further in the past. The final thing that we're going to cover in this lesson is present perfect subjunctives. When we use the present perfect tense in the subjunctive mood, it is to speak about past actions related to the present and future actions that may or may not be completed. These actions tend to be desires, expectations, opinions, probabilities, and other actions that express uncertainty. Let's take a look at how to conjugate it and when to use it. When we conjugate in the present subjunctive, we use a similar formula to the present perfect, but there's a slight change. Instead of using the auxiliary verb haber in the present tense, we're going to conjugate it in the present subjunctive as follows. Auxiliary verb haber in its present subjunctive form plus past participle of the action verb. For example, you have yo haya, tú hayas, or usted haya. As you can see, the conjugation is slightly different. If we take one of the examples of actions, let's say opinions, we can see it comes out as no creo que haya sido verdad. I don't think it has been true. Next, we will examine how the present perfect subjunctive can be connected to the past and the future with the past actions related to the present as well as future actions that may or may not be completed. Starting with past actions related to the present. Now, the first way present perfect subjunctive is used whenever we want to speak about an action that was supposed to happen in the past, but we don't know whether it happened or not, or even how it went. For example, es posible que haya perdido todo mi dinero. It's possible that I've lost all my money. In this example, we're talking about a possibility. The action happened in the past, but right now, in the present, we don't know if I've lost the money or not. We just guess that it could have happened. The second way to use this subjunctive is for future actions that may or may not be completed. This is used when there's a feeling of uncertainty about whether something will happen. It can also describe actions that we cautiously expect to be finished in the future. For example, deseo que para el próximo año ya hayamos vendido la casa. I wish that we've sold the house by next year. Here, we have the uncertainty of whether or not the house will be sold. To identify when you need to use the subjunctive, there are a couple of easy rules that you can memorize. Since the subjunctive is used in relative clauses, it will be preceded by phrases and expressions that indicate a probability, desire, or assumption related to something that is not fact, at least not yet, or something unknown. They look like this. Espero que, I hope, no creo que, I don't think that. Es posible que, it's possible that, dudo que, I doubt that. For example, no creo que él haya comido tan temprano. I don't think he has eaten so early. One more quick tip, the relative pronoun que is a cue to enter the subjunctive mood. Now, let's take a look at some commonly used examples. Once you know how to conjugate the auxiliary verb haber, it's easy to use the present perfect tense with regular verbs. We simply add the respective ado and ido endings. Here's some commonly used verbs. Some end in ado. For example, bailar and bailado, while others end in ido, such as creer and creído. For even more commonly used verbs, check out the full article that goes with this lesson in the the link in the description below. Up until now, it's all been nice and straightforward with the present tense, but now we have come to irregular verbs. More specifically, present perfect irregular verbs in Español. These irregular verbs don't follow the ado or ido rule we previously covered. Each irregular verb has a different past participle, which you need to memorize separately. Let's dive in and look at some examples of the most common irregular verbs. First off, we have decir, to tell. Decir has the past participle dicho, which combined with haber becomes has dicho. As in, has dicho la verdad, which means you've told the truth. Another example is poner, to put. Poner has the past participle puesto, and combined with haber becomes hemos puesto. As in, hemos puesto la comida en la mesa. Or in English, we've put food on the table. Making sense so far? These are just two of many more examples that you can find in the article for this lesson in the description below. Now, there is one more type of verb we need to know about that is essential when it comes to using the present perfect tense. These are reflexive verbs. Reflexive verbs are used when the subject and object are the same. For example, someone or something performs the action on themselves. For example, the sentence, yo me he visto en el espejo. I have seen myself in the mirror. Requires you to use the reflexive verb and the reflexive pronoun before the haber conjugation. Notice that the position of the reflexive pronoun me is placed between the subject and the conjugated verb haber. Now, another quick tip, since we can drop some personal pronouns in Spanish, we will often find sentences that start with a reflexive pronoun, such as me he visto en el espejo. This format for using a reflexive verb also works for other pronouns. For example, ¿te has abierto una cuenta en el banco? Have you opened yourself a bank account? Or we have, nos hemos perdido en el bosque. We've lost ourselves in the woods. As you can see in all of these, the subject in the sentence acts on itself. Well done! Yeah. That's it for this lesson. We've covered a lot today, including what present perfect is, how to use it, and lots of examples that you can use. If you want to test your knowledge, you can have a go at the exercises featured in the article on present perfect linked down below. And if you want to practice the present perfect tense with an experienced Spanish teacher, why not schedule your first Baselink class today? At baselink.com, you get access to unlimited one-on-one Spanish classes with native speaking teachers all via Zoom. Try your first week for only $1. If you enjoyed today's lesson, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Why not expand your Spanish tense knowledge by watching our video on the simple past? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Adios!